best accessories and their cheap alternatives for the best infantry marches in Rise of Kingdoms. Let's go!
Spartans! What is your profession?
What's going on, my beautiful governors? Hope you all doing amazing. Today we have the last video of our infantry series, and today's guest is an infantry beast, Cortex. We had amazing guests on our channel so far, like Ace, Duke, and we will host more top tier players in the future to share their insights and experience on Rise of Kingdoms to help you guys out. So make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss those upcoming videos. As I said, today's guest is Cortex, and if you guys don't know who Cortex is, this guy is a beast. He knows what he's doing. Make sure to check his YouTube channel and Discord out. Links are in the description. Also, if you people ask me on our Discord if there are any jumper projects, I will leave the Discord link of Eternal Predators. You can get in touch with them if you're looking for a jumper group. Without further ado, let's start the discussion. Hello Cortex, welcome to Spartan Gaming, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Today we are going to talk about Cortex's top 5 infantry open field marches, and not only that, we will also talk about his best equipment, best accessories for each march and the cheaper options. So this video is full of information. It's going to be a great one. Again, Cortex, thank you for being here. And before we start, I want to ask you one specific question. When do you think someone should start to craft KvK accessories?
So I think people should start craft KvK accessories after they've finished their epic equipment on their commanders.
So that's it. No legendary equipment. Just go for the accessories.
Correct. I think it's a bigger upgrade, upgrading an empty slot to a legendary accessory rather than upgrading an epic piece of equipment to a legendary for a small stat increase.
I see. So I always suggest people that you should craft, the Hope Cloak, the legendary chest piece, and the helm, because I just hate having those attack stats on my chest and helm, but I think you prefer KvK accessories, right?
Correct. So, what you're saying is also not a bad plan, so to speak, because they're both very good pieces and they replace attack stats with defense, which is also very good. But personally, I think that accessories make a bigger difference.
Yeah, especially, I guess, if you are, low on materials, right? Because they cost so much materials.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Now, let's go back to images, the graphics. So if you're using one infantry march only on the open field, your choice is Guan Yu and Scipio, and then your accessories are absolute best ones, Horn of Fury and Ring of Doom, and the cheap alternative is Ring of Doom and Delane's Amulet.
So I think this march is very, very good. First of all, you get the silence from Guan, which I think is important for any murder ball, regardless if you're an infantry player or not. And you get the health debuff in AoE from Scipio, which I also think is really, really important for any murder ball. And at the same time, this march is pumping out a lot of damage and a lot of debuffs, which I think is very, very good for any murder ball, regardless if you're an infantry player or not.
How about Horn of Fury and Ring of Doom?
Right, so I think these two are the best accessories for any single march, as long as you already have a dagger and a web in your murder ball from before. Now, I think having a dagger and a web in a murder ball is very important.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you have the dagger and the web somewhere else in your murder ball, I think those are the two best accessories for that march.
The surprising thing was, for me, you actually cut Horn of Fury to replace it with Delane's Amulet for cheap alternative.
Correct. So I do think that the ring is quite overpowered in comparison to the rest of the legendary accessories in terms of power level. I think it increases the damage output of the march by so much that I think it's very important to have for almost every single march.
I see, especially when it lines up with the skill damage, Guan Yu's AoE or Scipio's AoE, it just pumps out crazy damage, right?
Correct.
So if we move to 2 marches, you split your Guan and Scipio. This time we have Guan and Leo plus Scipio and Honda Tadakatsu. And now we are using that Horn of Fury and Ring of Doom again on Guan Leo. But this time for Scipio and Honda, we have Ring and the dagger.
Correct. So I think, I know, because me and Chisgul have tested this a lot. The Scipio Honda is a really, really, really strong march. It's extremely powerful. It's probably higher damage output than even the Guan Scipio, but the reason for the Guan is the silence is very important.
Ah, yes, yes.
So yeah, the Scipio Honda is really, really important. And then again, we're bringing the dagger into the ball. And I do think that the horn is less important on Scipio than it would be on Guan because he has the support tree that already generates a lot of rage for him.
Oh, that's right.
So
yeah.
he's not that reliant on the rage as Guan is.
Quick question, actually 2 questions. Do you still think that for a free-to-play / low spender, 5511 Leonidas is still viable?
Yes, 100%. 5511 Leonidas is still very, very good. There's many players in my alliance and people that I know that still use 5511 Leonidas and are very happy with it.
Nice. My second question is, let's say I'm an infantry player and I have a Max Guan Yu, Max Scipio, 5511 Leo, and a Max Alexander or Max YSG. Do you still recommend working on Honda, or should I just go with Scipio Alex or Scipio YSG?
That's an interesting question. So I do think Alex and YSG are fading out of the meta slowly. I do still think they're really, really exceptional commanders to use in the open field, but I think they're on their way out, so to speak. So I think with this next Archer cycle, I do not think YSG will be in the meta pairings anymore, so to speak, for Archer marches.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think Alex is also slowly going out. He's still there when you have 3 marches, but if you go down to 2, I would not use Alex anymore.
Yeah, I see.
So, yeah, I think Honda is a better long-term investment right now than Alex or YSG, because he can also go with any troop type. He doesn't care. He's a leadership commander. So you can sort of put him wherever you want, even if you, let's say, want to split up a pair, you can put Honda wherever. He doesn't care where he is.
Yeah, that's right. And another question, do you use full infantry, right, with this March, Scipio and Honda?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, okay. So for the cheap alternatives for these accessories, we have Winced cards for Guan and Leo because they don't have much march speed, I guess. But again,
Yep,
you cut Horn of Fury for Ring of Doom. So you value Ring of Doom over Horn of Fury, obviously. And then you actually cut Ring of Doom this time for Delane's Amulet for Scipio and Honda because I guess you value that health debuff so much, right? Over Ring of Doom.
Yeah. Correct. If you have multiple marches, I do think you need a dagger in your murder ball.
Yeah, because debuff applies for everybody, because once a target is debuffed, everybody
all
will
the
attack that
AoE
target.
hitting the march, anyone that's attacking the march, everything is doing more damage to that march. Debuffs from active skills stack with accessories because they're active skills stack with passive skills. Passive skills stacks with anything. The only things you cannot stack is active and active. So let's say if you have an Ethelfled, it does not stack with a with a Scipio debuff. But the dagger stacks with everything. Also, all passive debuffs stack with everything. So you can read on the commander skills. If it says passive skill, then it will stack with other passive skill debuffs.
Oh, that's great to know. So when we move to your top 3 marches, we have again Guan and Leo, Scipio and Honda. This time we have Alex and Harold. Do you prefer Alex primary or Harold primary?
So I personally prefer Harold primary, but I know a lot of people prefer Alex primary. So the reason for that is that I do think if you're not getting hit, the Alex primary could be better. But the thing is, with having Alex primary, people come and attack you. If they see Harold, they don't attack you as much. That's at least the experience I've had with it. So I've had much better results after I switched to the Harold primary, Alex secondary.
Yeah, they definitely prefer Alex over Harold to hit.
Yeah.
So for them, we are using Ring of Doom and Mora's Web. So this time we are bringing in defense reduction.
Yeah, so the reason for the Mora's Web is that, pretty similar reason to the dagger, honestly. It's just that the dagger's a bit more powerful. But the Mora's Web provides great utility for the whole murder ball and everything hitting that target with the defense reduction, and also it has a cavalry slow, so it's very good for slowing cav marches that are very fast.
Yeah, that's actually great to know. And again, we have Delane's Amulet. I guess we either go with Wind Scars for movement speed or Delane's Amulet, right?
Correct, and the only march I really think needs the move speed here is the Guan Leo, because Leo has no march speed.
Yeah, that's right. Alex is already super fast. Let's go to 4 marches. This time, we split that Alex and Harold. We go for Alex and CJ, Pakal and Harold. And for Alex CJ, you have Horn of Fury and Ring of Doom. A cheap alternative is Ring of Doom and Delane's Amulet. Again, you value Ring of Doom over Horn of Fury. And for your Pakal and Harold, we have obviously Ring of Doom because it's crazy on this march. And again, another Mora's Web. Cheap alternative is Mora's Web plus Delane's amulet. Can you explain your choices?
Yeah, so we split up the Alex and the Herald with the Alex and the CJ, because Alex and CJ is a really, really high damaging march. And I think really the only reason you would use Pakal is to use him with Herald for an anti-swarm march that will punish anyone who swarms you. So that's why I also like to put Mora's Web on there, because I think it's more of a utility march, so to speak, than a damage march, whereas Alex CJ is going to pump out a lot more damage, so it's more important to have the Horn and the Ring on there. And also having more rage on the Alex debuff is really strong.
Have you ever wished that you wouldn't go for infantry or you would go for another troop type?
So I mean, recently I have sort of steered more towards archers.
Really?
I used to have 4 infantry marches on the field, but now I'm down to 2, and I have 2 archer marches and 1 cav march.
Oh, which archer marches are that?
That is Cyrus, YSG, and Nebu with Tomeris right now.
Oh, that's crazy. Nebu with Tomiris.
Mm-hmm.
There's gotta be something if you're using it. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of skill damage, but also you gotta play very careful.
Yeah, that's right. So, if we move on to 5 marches, again, same 4 marches, previous 4 marches, but this time you included Trajan and Mulan with Karak War Drums and Mora's Web, and the cheap alternative is you are cutting Karak's War Drum and you are replacing it with a Wind Scars.
Yeah, so basically you're adding buffing march to buff everything you're doing, especially the skill damage from Trajan and all stats from Mulan, as well as march speed. And then having the Karak's War Drums and the Mora's Web on there will be a lot of rage buffs for your whole Murder Ball and defense debuffs to the enemy, which is very powerful.
Would you go for 5511 Mulan with Trajan or Max Joan of Arc?
5511 Mulan with Trajan, because as we spoke about earlier with the rage buffs, or active buffs, active buffs do not stack. So Trajan's primary skill that gives all your marches a rage buff will not stack with Joan's rage buff. So only one of the buffs will apply.
So you are actually hurting yourself by using Joan of Arc and Trajan.
Correct. It's not a very good march because you're basically removing the rage buff from Joan. It's not doing anything.
Nice. There you guys have it. Cortex's top 5 infantry open field marches, his best accessories and the cheap replacements. Thank you so much, Cortex, for being here and sharing your opinions, your insight, your experience with us.
Thanks for having me.
I wish to have you again in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.